returning to Washington, we took a drive through the scenic Columbia River Gorge, beginning in Troutdale, just east of Portland. Our first stop was the Vista House, a memorial to Oregon pioneers which opened in 1918 and offers awesome views overlooking the Columbia River. Stops along the drive east include the Bridal Veil Waterfalls, the spectacular Multnomah Falls, Oregon's most popular natural attraction with a drop of 620 feet, and the Oneonta Gorge Tunnel. We also visited the Bonneville Lock and Dam Complex, built in 1937, which includes a series of fish ladders that help salmon swimming upstream to navigate past the dam. trip took us back to Seattle for 2 more nights. Along the way, we took one last look at Mount St. Helens, visited the Boeing aircraft factory to watch jumbo jets being assembled, and enjoyed a land and water tour of the city on the duck boats.
Boys and girls, welcome to beautiful Lake Union. Like those fishing boats like you see over here. I want to see boats much. Now, speaking of fishing boats, does anybody watch The Deadliest Catch? Ever see that show, Discovery Channel? Horizon right here was on season 1, very short, kind of a cameo appearance, so to speak. Out at the locks right now, we have the Wisdom. Captains live here in the area along with the crew. We'll be leaving again about the middle of October. King crab season starts in November, and then Opelio, or snow crab, starts in January. So they're here about 3 or 4 more months. That's it. The deck you see is where Tom Hanks sat in the movie and watched the fireworks over Lake Union, something we do every 4th of July here in about, 7, 8 days, 9 days, next weekend. And it'll be just about as warm as it is right now. However, on the 5th of July, it'll be 85 and beautiful. Other little bitty boats out there. We saw a couple of them this afternoon. Ferries, cruise ships, cargo vessels, things like that. The destroyers, Coast Guard cutters, all to get out to Alki Beach to go out for a football round, when all they really had to do is go right over here to Gasworks Park. But it is very scenic out at Alki Beach, don't get me wrong. That's one of the reasons they did it out there. Now you may notice I did call that a floating home, not a house. The ones right out on the water's edge, obviously, when the sun's setting, you would get the sunsets, things like that. And you can kind of see diagonally between them, you work your way back towards shore. That is where the less expensive floating homes in each marina are. Just like land, if you have less of a view, you don't pay quite as much. Now the ones we're coming upon right now, here's another float plane coming in over the top of us. Right behind these sailboats, these are actually some of the older ones on the lake. This is pretty much what you would have seen late 1950s, early 1960s. They were much, much smaller. They were built on much wider platforms for stability. Single story only. They really didn't have the technology flotation-wise to build them higher. There's a thing called metacenter. The center of gravity increases with height and will tend to tip over if you don't build the correct flotation under these. And even though these are older and smaller, these are anywhere from about, I don't know, 300 square feet on the low end, maybe 700, 800 square feet on the high end.
The drive back to Pittsburgh included a stop at the Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota. This park, with its badlands and rugged scenery, includes the Maltese Cross Cabin, the house Teddy Roosevelt first lived in when he came to the Dakotas in 1883. After visiting the south unit of the park, I stayed overnight in Bismarck. The following day, the trip east took me through Minnesota, and I stopped at the Mall of America in the suburbs south of Minneapolis-St. Paul. Then I pushed through Wisconsin before returning to Chicago and continuing back across Indiana, Ohio, and into Pittsburgh.
In 1883, a young politician, the eldest son of a prominent New York City family, became alarmed about reports that the vast herds of buffalo that had once blanketed the Great Plains were quickly disappearing. So he hurried west on the Northern Pacific Railroad and got off when he reached the heart of the Badlands in the Dakota Territory. His name was Theodore Roosevelt. He was 24 years old, and he was afraid the buffalo would become extinct before he got the chance to shoot one. Over the next several years, he would return again and again to take more hunting trips into the mountains, to ranch on the open plains, to build up his health and character by pursuing what he called the strenuous life.